Dugout News YouTube channel is what you're watching right now, and we have new news concerning Naoya Inoue, who climbed off the canvas to violently knock out Nery. Now, Naoya Inoue had the story all written before it was played out in front of more than 40,000 frenzied fans at the Tokyo Dome. The stage had been set, and we had seen the commercial. Japanese leading man, the boyish wrecking machine that is Naoya Inoue, was fighting for the honor of his country against the villain of peace, Nery. Nery had been banned from fighting in Japan, firstly when he boxed Shinsuke Yakamana. Nery popped for PEDs, or performance-enhancing drugs. When they rematched several months later, Nery showed up overweight and squashed Yamanaka in quick time. As Japanese boxing historian Joe Koizumi said this week, in this country, coming in overweight is a crime, but earlier this year, Japan Boxing Commission rescinded the penalty so that Nery could face justice in the form of Inoue's flashing fists. Koizumi called it punishment, and that's what tens of thousands of shrinking fans tuned up to witness. Nery had reveled in his role as the bad guy. He knew why he was here and what was expected of him, which is probably why he doubled down. Last night, as he entered his fourth hour, hoping that fluid would appear so he could provide Vada with a sample, Nery told the writer that the dome was only going to be so full because of him, because of the narrative. But he proceeded to accept his role in it. I am the bad guy, he snared, with a body, face, and part of his neck smeared in tattoos, watching the world from behind thick black glasses, a black beard, and often dressed in check shirts, think scarface. The costume designer for the production was certainly on point. Nery looked the part. Even his manager, Sean Gibbons, admitted this week that Nery would likely be a victim in any type of random stop and search program. There has to be a good guy and a bad guy in the story, right? Gibbons said with a smile. And the ethos, that defiance, was obvious when Nery walked to the ring. He wasn't bold. Japan was too polite for that. But Nery smirked, knowing that the crowd was thinking, waving his American flag over his shoulder as he swaggered between the ropes and awaited Inoue. Then a sea of smartphones was raised as one, thousands upon thousands of them, recording Inoue's lavish and explosive entrance amidst a live electric guitar performance and enough fireworks to sink a battleship. Flames were fired into the air, the bangs so loud that there were times when you could not even hear the audience, which beckoned its hero to act out the story it was desperate to hear. Finally, there were boos when Nery flexed during his introduction by Hall of Famer Jimmy Lennon Jr. The Japanese fans didn't like that show of insubordination or perceived arrogance. And while the bad guys have their moments in the movies, they never get to win. This is not why they have been cast in the role. Their compass is just around the corner. Inoue did as his fans hoped, and 20 seconds after the opening bell, launched a right-hand missile that had the hopes of a nation on it, but it missed by a mile. No matter, Inoue went swinging for it again, 2 times, 3 times, and then, as both attempted wild strikes, Nery missed a left hook by a huge margin. Then suddenly, as the fighters came in close and Monster Inoue attacked, unified junior featherweight champion left himself wide open, and Nery saw a gap. The American southpaw reached around the corner with the left hook, and the impossible was on. Inoue spiraled to the canvas and landed in a disorganized heap Japan held its breath. Inoue appeared clear in his eyes and had enough about him to listen to the count of referee Mike Griffin while perched on one knee. The edges of 40,000 seats were filled. This was a plot twist of epic proportions. More than that, time seemed to stand still. Inoue had seemingly in slow motion been sent spinning into the canvas like a corkscrew. Ghosts of 1990s swirled in the air, haunting a packed and scared witless Tokyo Dome. They all knew that 34 years ago, the unheralded James Buster Douglas shocked the world, defeating the heavyweight monster Mike Tyson in the same venue. History was repeating itself. One could hear Jim Lampley's understated call. Buster Douglas has just beaten Mike Tyson. Nery has just beaten Naoya Inoue. Silence fell in Tokyo. Images of that distractedly Nery escaping, hightailing it to the airport, flanked by gibbons carrying the cases of the WBC, IBF, WBA, and WBO belts, flashed through one's mind. Maybe they flashed through Nery's too, because he flew in to finish the job. Inoue was shaken and hurt. It was Nery's moment. The bad guy wins. That wasn't in the script. Gradually, the fog that had descended through Inoue's neurological system began to clear, and Nery shipped a right cross and right uppercut. Such was his enthusiasm to provide his own ending. Through the second round, onlookers implored Inoue to get a foothold into the fight so firmly that they cheered even when his punches landed only on the arms and gloves. But then, just like that, and every bit as suddenly as Inoue had been dispatched in round one, Nery was down. Euphoria rattled the dome. Inoue had delivered a counter left hand with his back to the ropes that folded Nery's legs beneath him. The shot was all class, with a drop of power for good measure, and Inoue was right back in it. By the third, even the politest Japanese nationals were invested. They bowed when Inoue claimed he had been hit on the head. They jeered sarcastically when Inoue made Nery sing and miss with both hands, skillfully waving in the opposite direction both times. The action was technical and tactical, punctuated by moments of crisp punches, and as time tickled by, you could see Inoue looking more comfortable, like he was starting to figure out what was in front of him. A right hand that jarred Nery's head back. He was caught leaning away, brought a predictably thunderous ovation. It was a massive shot, but the crowd was desperate and wanted Nery out there, and sooner than later. In the fourth, Inoue started doing Inoue things. He appeared to be a complete fighter, so many of his peers say he is, and he even took a moment to put his glove to his jaw and implore Nery to take advantage. When the American declined, well, the fans adored that. Inoue boxed smoothly to evade trouble, and then crushed home the occasional pot shot. He also started to work Nery's body, rattling his left hand into the Mexican's side. More worryingly for the challenger, who remained dodged in his pursuit, Inoue was finding a range with his right hand. Nery tried bullying forward through the oncoming leather, picked up a warning for leading with his head, more booze, and then he proceeded to take Inoue into the trenches and marched him to the ropes. The Japanese star whistled over a left hook that sat Nery down once more. It was artful. Inoue had almost no room to work, but he was able to thread through a glorious shot laced with beautiful malice. It had been crafted through a space of scarcely 4 inches, and its impact was as dramatic as anything that had come before. By the time the 6th round started, we were at the point in the movie when the hero has the body where he wants. Nery was not pleading for mercy, but he was absorbing hurtful rights and looking increasingly fallen. That fist round moment felt like an awful long time ago by now. And then, with his back to the ropes again, the weary Nery was on the wrong end of what will be one of this year's most spectacular right hands. Inoue fist home an electric right uppercut and followed it with a straight right that nearly decapacitated Nery. The lead part of the movie is reserved for the good-looking hero, in this case a champion, who looks like a J-pop star and who is adored by the fans. Brooding menace in the films only goes so far until ultimately the villain is impaled on a spike, met by a hail of bullets or tossed off a building the height of the impressive Tokyo Dome into the Alps below. Here, in the final act, Nery was brutally dropped for a third time. If it wasn't shocking enough to see his head violently rock back, it vividly ricocheted off the top rope and with the rest of his body in a collapsed state, and came to rest just about out of it, with his top half dropped up over the bottom strand. Ecstasy doesn't describe what was felt at the moment. It was almost as if Nery didn't deserve to have such a bad ending, but that was a view of very many on matters, and they were not echoed by many. The ending, after 1 minute 22 of the sixth, was the movie. It was both cinematic and it was poetic. As the end credits started to roll, Nery remained in a pile on the canvas and was then escorted to his stool to be reunited with his senses. Inoue leapt on the middle ropes. The crowd roared emphatically, and a nation collectively breathed millions of sighs of relief. Nery, now 35 fights, 22 losses, 27 knockouts, had paid for his past indiscretions. The crowd was delighted and perhaps even admired his courage. The fighters eventually shook hands, and the 29-year-old Nery left to make his way to his dressing room. History was not on repeat, but Japanese fans did reach out to high-five him as he left. Just like his brother Takuma had earlier in the night, Inoue climbed off the floor to retain his crown. If it was a movie, you couldn't make it up, but you certainly could make a highlight reel from the knockdowns alone. Inoue spoke post-fight and has his fans in hysterics. It was like watching a live sitcom. He had gone from being the monster to the man of the people. I don't remember anything my dad, trainer Shingo, told me in the intermission between rounds 1 and 2. He said shackling, but that happening gave me motivation. I was so focused until the end of the fight. Asked how he was able to turn things around from the near disastrous first round, Inoue simply replied, "I would like to tell you, but I don't remember anything in the fight." Afterwards, top Australian contender Sam Goodman made his way into the ring and challenged Inoue, saying, "Either give up the belts or fight me. Let's get it on." Goodman might be next, but Irishman T.J. Dohoney staked his claim on the undercard, and he is known here as the Japanese assassin for his previous successful visits. By the way, there is a good chance that, having accepted his bad guy role and played it perfectly, including that moment of jeopardy, Tijuana's Nery is not all bad. On several occasions this week in the hotel, he spent time smiling for selfies and signing for fans in the lobby. It was like seeing a character of Disney World with their costume mask removed, having a few minutes to be themselves. I personally do respect Nery, and I don't know what would have happened with this shock win, but Inoue played his part and retained the belts. He still has work to do, and as far as mandatories are concerned, but what a story he's writing in the books of boxing history. Naoya Inoue is something, and anyone out there should have him on his pound for pound best fighters. He's among the best fighters currently. Him plus Terence, Bart Crawford, Alexander Usyk, and many out there. Gervonta Tank Davis. So many superb fighters out there. But Naoya Inoue, only problem is he has had his fights all in Japan. He got knocked down for the first time in his career, but guy passed through hell and annihilated Nery to the baddest of moments. Well, that's all we have for you for now. This is Dugout News. Please subscribe, and also don't forget to place your comment in the comment section below. Dugout News YouTube channel. We sign out. Peace.